What's up, guys? David here. 1, 2, and 2. I got my buddy Ryan here, and we got a list for you today. It's the top 15 cards in the upcoming set, Shining Victories.
According to how interested you are in them.
So, probably not the 15 best cards. Probably the 15 stupidest ones. 15. First card we have up is Ryu Okami, level 8 light worm type. Now, it's a really interesting card. It's not particularly good, but I kind of like it. I think it's neat, and you know, down the line we might find something neat to use with it. Its effect basically says, whenever your opponent would special summon a monster, they need to mill a card out of their extra deck. Now, it seems to be that they can pick the card, but even still, you know, if you got an opponent doing like synchro summoning and stuff, they're gonna start having to like mill all the synchros that they're trying to synchro summon whilst trying to synchro summon. So that it punishes them for overextending and doing Quasar type plays and things like that. So it's actually kind of a neat little card, and I like to see a deck utilize it. 14. Next up is Rippling Mirror Force, another one of the new Mirror Force trap cards. And this one's really cool. When your opponent declares a direct attack, you shuffle all their attack monsters back to the deck. It's a really fun card. It's actually probably one of the best ones. Because, you know, if you guys get killed, and you're like, oh no, you killed all my monsters by battle. I must not have any battle traps. And they're like, all right, attack for game. You're like, surprise! Ah! And you shuffle all their stuff back in the deck. And as long as you have a decent hand, you're just gonna puke and just probably win. So it's actually a really solid card. I really like it. 13. The next card I want to talk about is called Cattle Call. A really interesting card, a TCG World exclusive, and no one's really talking about it. Basically what it does is you send a Beast, Beast Warrior, or Wing Beast from your side of the field to the graveyard to summon one from your extra deck of the same type. There is no level restrictions, just that monster cannot attack, and it can't use any effects. What's interesting about the card, though, is it is quick play, so that's kind of neat. Also, this thing can summon XYZs and Synchros. Most of the cards like this in the past have only been able to summon fusions, and like vanilla fusions at that, like something that like doesn't really do anything, because most of the good fusions say can't be special summoned except by blah, like Dark Law and stuff like that. So this is a really weird card, and there's some really interesting things you can do with it. Namely, Raidraptors can use it to bring out one of their lower rank XYZs and use one of their rank up magics to go into one of their better XYZs. I mean, frankly, we were testing this card, and I played Zephyros, and I played this card, and then I summoned out Ultimate Falcon. I mean, it couldn't do anything with it, and it died in the end phase, but you can actually do that. So there's some really interesting things you can do with this thing. I'm actually wondering if there's any of like the synchro tuners that you could yank out with this thing, so you don't have to make them. So maybe like making Quasar might be interesting or something like that. So I don't know, it's a really cool card, and I'd like to see what people can do with it. 12. The next card up is actually something I just mentioned, Raidraptor's Ultimate Falcon. Phew, another Towers-like card. This thing's unaffected by other card effects, and once per turn you can detach, and you can make all your opponent's monsters lose 1,000 attack. And if it has a Raidraptor monster, which I don't know why I wouldn't, as XYZ material, you can just, without detaching, make them lose 1,000 attack power, and then if they don't have monsters, they take 1,000 burn damage instead. But at 3,500, this thing's essentially invisible. Konami, stop making these monsters. Towers, Magnus, this thing. But really though, it's actually a really powerful card, and like I said, the other card can help you make this thing. So yeah, Raidraptors, hey, here you go. Here's a big old monster. Have fun. 11.
Speedroid Den lets you banish himself to summon a Speedroid tuner monster from your hand or grave. Obviously, I love Speedroid, so that really adds some kind of recursiveness of getting your red-eyed dice to the grave, then you can summon it back, target a Speedroid, increase the level, all the things.
10.
Performapal Odd-Eyes Unicorn. This thing is a Performapal and an Odd-Eyes. So, like, what? Anyway, pay no attention to the peanut gallery. And so basically, because it has, you know, it's a Performapal and an Odd-Eyes, it's searchable by Monkey Board and Sky Iris. So it really ties the two together. Also, it's a scale 8. I love this card. It's going immediately into my Odd-Eyes deck.
9.
Rector the Drake Overlord. This is an interesting one. He is a skill drain for pendulums in the pendulum zone, so really great in the mirror match. You stick him there, he's a high scale, and none of your opponent's pendulum monsters get off their effects. And a very neat card. Also, his battle effect isn't terrible. He just kind of kills pendulum monsters at the start of the battle. Kind of a catastrophe for pendulum monsters.
8. Alright, the next one is probably the most expensive card in the set. I just didn't put it higher because I don't care much about it, but to not acknowledge it would be very silly. And that is this, what the fuck is this thing called? Floating Ghost Cherry Blossoms. I don't know. Anyway, basically, during either player's turn, if your opponent has more monsters than you do, you can discard this thing from your hand and reveal one monster from your extra deck. Okay, and then when you do that, you get to look at your opponent's extra deck and then banish all copies of that card. So this is instantly going to go in pretty much everyone's Kozmoll deck, because Kozmolls don't really need their extra deck. They kind of just play with their in-deck monsters anyway, so they can just fill it up with a bunch of stupid things like Dante and Cyber Dragon Infinity and Rafflesia and all these other annoying XYZs and Synchros that they don't want to deal with, and just be like, ha ha! I got your Dante, bleh, and then Burning Abyss and Peak of Fire are gonna be like, oh, you suck, why did you, oh. So yeah, this card's probably gonna be meta defining. It'd be silly for me not to mention it, but I just don't care because I'm never gonna be able to afford a playset. 7.
Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. This thing is amazing. It's kind of balanced in the sense that you do need a synchro monster to summon it, but I have played with a couple decks that have 2-card combos that are able to pump this thing out. It gains attack when it is in battle with a level 5 or higher, and it negates any monster effect once per turn. This is definitely a must-have of the set.
6. Next up is Red-Eyes Toon Dragon. Woo! Red-Eyes Toon Dragon! I love Toons, one of my favorite archetypes. Too bad they suck, and this is one of those cards that's almost good, but too bad it sucks. But I'm still excited for it anyway, because eventually it's probably going to be necessary. Basically, like every other Toon, it can't attack a turn it's summoned, but interestingly enough, it doesn't blow itself up when you lose your Toon World. So that's a thing, but hey, at least you can special summon one Toon from your hand to the field. That's cool, I guess, except himself, but well, whatever. And you can summon this thing out of your deck with Blackstone of Legend. So that's a thing. 5. The next card is Pre-Preparation of Rites, one of the easiest +1s in the game. Basically, you just add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand, and then you can add the ritual monster that's on the spell. Whoopity-doo! Basically, it does nothing for things something like Gishkis and Necros, but what it does do is it gives you your Relinquished and your Herald of Perfection and all these old ancient rituals, pretty much the speed they need to keep up with the meta. So hey, Demise OTK anyone? 4. Thunder King, the Lightningstrike Kaiju he's really good. I don't. It's no surprise that a Kaiju's on here. I love Kaijus, and he's probably the best one that they have next to Gamecill, arguably. Basically, for the cost of 3 counters, you prevent your opponent from activating any effects for the rest of the turn, which is ugh, that's crazy. And then he can just make 3 attacks on monsters. He's an OTK machine, and he pretty much is like, hey, if Kaijus can only have 1 monster, let's make it a good one. So that's a thing. 3. Fire King Island. Ah, cool. One of the imports. Fire King Island, seemingly kind of an innocuous card, is actually going to get stuck in Cosmos because it says you destroy a card from the hand, not discard a card from hand. Cosmos don't care where they're destroyed from. That's why if you use Crush card on a Cosmo player, they're going to be like, okay. So, yeah, so it basically you just destroy a card from hand and it summons one from the deck. It just gets the deck moving and it kind of makes it so they don't have to rely on their normal summon so much. And as a Cosmo player myself, I can understand that, like, you know, if you normal and then they hit you with warning, you pretty much have to end your turn. So it's actually really kind of nice being able to not have to worry about that so much. 2. And speaking of Cosmos, Dark Lady. Woot! She's the only level 5 pilot that we ever got, so which is a little weird that she's above the normal summon ability, but the fact that she's a level 5 gives her some weird interaction with the rest of the deck. But actually what we really care about is the fact that for 1,000 points, she can negate any monster effect. That's just really good. 1.
Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. This is basically kind of the culmination of a big love letter from Konami to anybody who likes the Blue Eyes archetype. He's able to summon light dragon monsters and really gets your Azure play going, as well as if you want to go into Moonlight or Ancient Fairy. Its effects are not too bad either, kind of anti-meta actually. It prevents your opponent from summoning more than 1 monster at a time, and once per turn you can negate a grave effect. This is definitely a very, very good card in this set.
Alright guys, that was the list. I hope you enjoyed the cards that we picked. I've tried to pick some of the more interesting ones, as well as the ones that are actually good that
Those are no fun.
Yeah, I know. I want to play the cool stuff. But anyway guys, let us know down in the comments below about the cards that you're excited about. And remember guys, if you don't troll the meta, who will? I'll see you guys next time.
See ya! So that searches out Dr. Red. And then you can banish Dragon to summon him. He kind of lets you do some more recursion that will probably be dropped as soon as the Felgrand structure deck comes out.
Understand.